Hey guys.
Hi, Paul. Hi, Davis.
Hello.
How are you, Gerard?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Yourself?
Good, glad to hear it. Doing just fine, can't complain.
Well, they always told me if you did complain, it wouldn't do any good.
That's right.
Right, I want to complain too, really.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
Oh, Paul's on the back porch.
It's too nice out here. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Dee. I don't see my whatever. I don't see my green space here.
We see you there, D.
Okay.
We see your DJ down at the bottom.
Yep.
Okay.
How are you?
Julie's going to be a little bit late, so I'm going to start the meeting whenever it's time to start.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
Is Mark going to join us?
Haven't heard.
Not yeah, and I've not heard either.
Do we have a quorum at this point? I heard Gerard.
Yeah, we have it. Yes, and Tom's on as well.
Oh, okay.
And George, would you mind if I got your last name just for the minutes, please?
Yes, sir. Last name Gilmer with a G, G-I-L-M-E-R.
Thank you very much. I guess I've never seen you on video before. I thought that might be you. Welcome.
I look better in person. I'm sorry.
No, that's not. Like just fine.
Davis, do we know
think
who 8402 is?
I do not. That was going to be my next. Can I ask who's on the phone?
Oh, this is Robert McElroy.
Hi, Robert.
Oh, how y'all doing?
I'm fine.
Mark's up.
Hey,
Hey,
Mark.
Mark.
How you guys doing?
Fine.
Hey, Julie joined us. Hi, Julie.
Hey, Julie. I think you're muted.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Got you loud and clear.
Good. Okay. Who all do we have from the board? I see Tim and Tom.
I think you have everybody.
Everybody?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Pretty sure about
All right. Okay. Tim, you want to go ahead and start tonight since I just walked in and
Sure.
I'm
Sure.
gonna let Tim start it. So
You want to give everybody another minute to check in, maybe? See if we get any more phone calls?
This is Richard. I checked in.
Hi, Richard.
Richard.
How you doing, Tim?
Good.
does that mean we have good news?
Not till tomorrow.
Okay.
Hi guys, this is Taylor Reed.
Hey, Taylor.
Hey, Taylor.
All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and get it started. The monthly meeting of the River Plantation Municipal Utility District for the month of April is underway. I'm going to call it to order. And the first topic of business is going to be approving minutes from previous meetings. We've got several to peruse, starting with March 25th of 2021. Does anybody have any comments or corrections?
And these were included in a packet previously, and I think that there was just so much discussion. I think we
Yes.
approved like 6 or 7 sets and just didn't approve these. So I don't think
Okay.
that there was anything that was objectionable.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. So anybody make a motion to approve March 25th?
I'll move we approve March 25th as
Thank you, Tom. Do I get a second?
I'll second it, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Tim, aye.
Gerard,
Julie,
aye.
aye.
All right. Pass unanimously. All right. Same drill for the April 19th minutes. I think we've already kind of gone through there, and there was probably a correction on there. It was the only thing that we did last time. So any questions or comments on April 19th?
This was
Okay.
actually the public presentation that was right before our last meeting. And so that's why these aren't, the 19th is the big presentation, and it was 2 or 3 days before the meeting. And so we didn't try and rush the minutes in front of everybody with 24 hours to review, because I know you guys like to have a few days. So
Right. Okay. Any motion to pass?
I'll make the motion that we accept the minutes for April 19th.
Any second?
Mark will second it.
All right, Mark, thank you. All in favor of April 19th passing? Aye.
Julie, aye.
Tom, aye.
Okay, April 19th passes. And now we'll do April 22nd. Same drill. Any comments? Okay, anybody make a motion to accept the minutes?
Mark, I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Mark. Anybody second?
Julie, I'll second it.
Thank you, Julie. All in favor of passage?
Mark, aye.
Gerard,
Julie,
aye.
Tim, aye. Okay. And finally, the May 10th meeting that we had, which was the meeting just to approve the election, correct?
yes, sir.
The results, yeah.
Okay, that was just for the results of the election.
And I think there was an amendment to the statement of directors as well, but that was pro forma.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Anybody have any comments or questions or concerns about the May 10th minutes? Okay. Anybody make a motion to pass?
Mark will make the motion.
Thank you, Mark. Second?
Julie, I'll second it.
Thank you, Julie. All in favor of passage of the May 10 minutes?
Julie,
Aye.
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 Tim, aye.
Gerard, aye.
Aye.
All right. Passage is unanimous, and that takes care of item 1 on the agenda. Item number 2 on the agenda is to receive comments from the public. Does anybody from the public have any comments for tonight?
Yeah, this is Dee. I have a few.
Okay, Dee.
I'd like to see all the directors up there on the screen. We don't get to see everybody. Also, I'm going to make a comment about the management companies. We've been looking at this for years, And the thing is, RP is the only mud in the county that uses employees. Everybody else has management companies. And Richard's the only one who knows everything about this mud. Now, if something happens to him, we're lost. I mean, he rides a motorcycle. That's kind of scary. But he's been looking for somebody to take his place for some time. He can't find anybody because there's no future in independent muds. So that's what I have to say about that. Now, Gerard, I have a question for you. At the town hall on April the 19th, you told everybody you had taken a virtual tour of the facilities, but you didn't meet with the engineer until a week and a half later, 3 days before the election. Now, why did you tell everybody you had already seen the district problems?
That's incorrect, Dee. I took a virtual tour along with Tom of the facilities with the engineer, and that's that. I mean, Tom, can you corroborate that? Taylor, you were there?
This is Taylor Reed. We discussed all the issues on a conference call, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I'm calling. That's what I'm calling a virtual tour.
Okay. Yeah. We did discuss all the issues throughout the district on a conference call.
Okay, so you never actually saw the problems.
Now, Dee, before that, right after I was elected, I took a physical tour with Richard and Tom for that one.
Well, I took one of those tours too after I was on the board, and yes, you get the whole idea of what's going on in the mud, but you're not seeing the problems. And that's what I think you should have seen before you even voted.
No, I'm okay. Okay. Well, thank you for the comment.
Okay, and I have one for Mark now. Mark, when
Yes,
did you
ma'am,
go
go
with
ahead.
the engineer to see the problems in this district?
I have not.
So you have not seen the problems in this district?
I've been living in this district since '94. I've been through quite a few floods. I've been to the facilities, but I have not taken a tour with the new engineers.
Okay, are you planning on doing that at all?
I might, but I think I'm pretty aware of the problems we have. A long time ago, I got a degree in civil engineering, and I understand how electricity works, how water works. I've been in this neighborhood. I've been through numerous floods. I know the drainage ditches. I know where stuff is. I walk the golf course, the Charleston part of it often. A lot of the others, I drive a golf cart around and play golf, and I'm observant. If there's stuff out there that I don't know about yet, and it hasn't been brought up in meetings, then sure, I'll go take a tour.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you, Dee.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other public comments?
Yes, this is Robert McElroy.
Hi, Robert.
Okay. I have a question. This is regarding the agenda. I'm not quite clear how it gets assembled, who submits the items for the agenda, and who has the final approval on what's on the agenda. I just want to get an understanding of how that's developed. If someone can comment on that, I appreciate it.
Davis, Richard, you want to handle that?
Sure. So Richard and I have had some discussions about the agenda recently. It's been physically typed out in my office, but in consultation with Richard, and it's also been sent. A draft has been sent to Julie for any comments as well. So typically, what we do is we send it to the general manager. I'll say I've also I believe it's being sent to Taylor as well, but So we generally incorporate comments from the board members. Items that are requested during a meeting would be included from all board members. And then we would include items from the general manager, board president, and engineer, any items that come up during the month, after the last meeting. So.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that. The next question I have is respecting the proposition for you and bond. I was thinking that's a high priority item. The board to exercise its authority and I didn't see that on the agenda. So wondering where that stands with respect to me, where you can go ahead and get sale title for the property as well as put some money back into his for future repairs and fighting the bill. So where y'all pick that up if you do it in a section or second section, or was that just something not included?
I'm sorry, Mr. McElroy. It sounds like you have a pretty poor phone connection. Maybe poor cell service.
That's probably true. I'm out here driving in the Dallas, so I can.
Okay.
Sounded like he had a question about the bonds.
Yes. In other words, proposition B, you have maybe up to $2 million that you can begin the process of getting those funds. It's not on the agenda, so that's why I was wondering probably what's going to be discussed at some time.
Proposition B.
Yeah. Thank you for your input, Mr. McElroy. I think if there's a board member who wants to include an item at the end of the meeting, if there's a board member who'd like to include an item for a park bond application on the next agenda, I think they can request it at that time. And thank you for your input.
Okay, thank you.
This is Mark real quick. If I couldn't understand anything about Mr. McElroy, if anybody heard him better, could you go over what he stated, please?
Mark, I'm going to say that I think we all are getting the exact same audio quality through Microsoft Teams, and I didn't hear him clearly. It sounded to me like he was asking why an item had not been included on this agenda to go ahead and proceed with a park bond authorization and an ultimate park bond sale.
I agree, Davis.
That's right.
Can I also address Mr. McElroy? I know when the board members went in to sign the I can't even think what we signed. Anyway, the order after the election and everything, and the statements by the directors, there was supposed to have been a copy of the agenda there, correct, Richard? And they're the proposed agenda, and they were asked at that point to add anything to the agenda that if they wanted anything added. So all the directors were, it's my understanding, asked if they wanted to put something on the agenda.
Thank you, Julie. Appreciate it.
No problem.
And truthfully, just going forward, if there are items that come up or there's something that hasn't been included, we try and get the agenda out in plenty of time to add an item if there's something that that comes up. And so we're, we post the agenda electronically at the courthouse, and so you just let us know if something comes up. So
yes.
So Davis, that's you that coordinates that, and you would accept input for additional agenda items by all board members?
Absolutely. Yep,
okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, the board controls what's on the agenda, not the consultants.
Okay, I thought it was the president. So
nope. Every board member has a right to have anything they want on the agenda.
Correct.
Thanks for clarification.
Thank you, Robert. Appreciate your questions. Anybody else from the public have any questions or comments?
Yeah, this is Suzanne.
Hi, Suzanne. Go ahead.
Since Prop A did not pass, do we have anything that we might be able to move forward with to be able to help with some of the flooding? Or drainage, I should say. That's it.
Suzanne, I will say, this is Julie. I will say that as of right now, we have more immediate needs. And I know that sounds terrible, but with the resources we have, some things that we've had happen just today, and some things Taylor's going to talk about briefly, I think we've got some more immediate needs that have to be taken care of with the funds that we have.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Anybody else?
Suzanne, would you mind providing your last name just for the minutes, just so I make sure I have you reflected correctly?
Currier, Currier.
Perfect. Thank you very much, ma'am.
You're welcome, sir.
All right. It sounds like we've got no other questions from the public. So we'll move on to item 3 on the agenda, which is the engineer's report, and we'll turn that over to Taylor.
Hey guys, just popped in on video. Hopefully you guys can see me now. Not much to look at, but it is what it is. Going through my report, starting off, permits, stormwater quality management plan, MS4 permit. This expires in January of 2024. This was something that was brought to my attention by Richard after last month's meeting. Montgomery County and the district that you guys are in, they do their own MS4 permitting for stormwater quality management planning. Blisle had supplied a report and management plan for you guys, but upon further investigation, found out that nobody had been submitting the annual report. Well, we got caught into a position where the TCEQ was doing an audit of those reports and found that we didn't have it. We were able to get one in for this year to avoid a further violation, but we did pick up a violation that's attached to the report regarding failure to submit one. This is going to be resolved easily with no penalties to the district. This is a first-time offense for us. We'll put together a letter stating that, hey, we're sorry that this happened. Going forward, we won't let it happen, and these are the steps we're going to take to make sure that that doesn't happen. Moving forward onto design projects. Since the bond application authorization Prop A did not pass, we're recommending us kind of going forward and looking at a spot map to evaluate the sanitary sewer. This would just be getting a hold of MagnaFlow, getting a price per day kind of valuation on how much line they could do in a day, putting together a reasonable map that would cover all the sections throughout River Plantation, just so we can better evaluate what's on the ground. I think this would help Gerard and Mark a little bit in their comfort level with what we're proposing, give us more time to research appropriately the full extent of things that are happening, and move forward with the correct amount of bond application money down to the T. East Ditch FEMA work. I reviewed the FEMA report. I sent that out to the directors as well.
Taylor, let me interrupt for just a second, relating to that spot map.
Yes,
just to broaden that out a little bit, is I would like to see really all of the issues documented. I know that the sanitary sewer is part of it, but there's certainly other parts that are important as well. And I know that you've worked on the CIP, and you've got some work streams and some timelines and some dollars associated with it. And I know that some projects have been defined, but what I'd really like to see is a list of the actual issues or findings that you guys have had out of the assessment. And in going forward, as far as the plan goes, I think there's been some mention of prioritization, and just to further that prioritization, I think that the prioritization should be based on risk. And when I refer to risk, what I'm talking about is a simple risk matrix for the issues based on probability and on the impact. And the impact, I mean, immediately I can think of 3 different areas of impact. You've got financial, you've got compliance, and you've got safety, are all 3 areas that be considered. But I think that the issues need to be, rated according to risk, and that would help with things going forward. And I think that if we come back and ask for another bond at a reduced amount, it'll also help with that, as well as address these most immediate pressing issues.
So we've got some time to work with, obviously, with the next election being in November. I think we should do it on a step-by-step method. This being May, get a spot map for sanitary for June, and then look a little more into the stormwater, because we do have a lot of pictures for evaluation and things like that. July, and then continue that into August. So it'll be an ongoing process to narrow down that information more so. But that's definitely the direction we're working at, based on conversations I've had with you. Obviously out in the field, making that threat matrix, and then trying to get more research information into exactly where we sit as far as facilities go. Obviously, we made a lot of predictions. Some of those predictions I see to be accurate based off of the next item on the agenda. Some of them may have been a little bit of an overstatement, but again, we were doing the best we could in a short time, and over the long period of time, we'll narrow it down and build that information into a package that you guys can certainly rely on.
Okay. And just a couple follow-up. I know that you had mentioned the threats and vulnerabilities assessment, and what I'm looking for is just something a little bit simpler. Just a simple risk rating on each of the issues found.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar to, I guess it was FEMA came in and they marked all the different spots along the plantation ditch. And there's issues there, like for instance, one of the issues would be the washout underneath one of the access ramps. Okay, so I would call that an issue. And also, whenever I am talking about risk, I'm talking systemic risk to the system, not risk to just an individual component. So I'm not worried about one particular 10-foot, or as worried about one particular 10-foot section of concrete on a wall having some erosion and that being considered failed. What I'm concerned about is system wide failures, like a failure of a plant or failure of a water well, and that's what I would call a catastrophic failure.
Okay.
So not looking to spend a lot of time and money doing a detailed threat and vulnerabilities assessment, just a simple risk assessment on the issues. The other thing I have a question for you about on the spot map. What percentage of the sanitary sewer do you think needs to be surveyed to give you a representation that you're looking for the spot assessment?
So I'm still trying to track down valuation. I really would like to get about 20%. I feel that would be a good number. That in my mind, that would give us a couple of runs in each subdivision so that we can get an overall idea. We would focus on where the mains met so that we were getting the main runs. So those I would see as most important to, if we had failures and things of that nature. In those areas, they obviously affect a lot more than an individual run, right? So we would focus on high probability, high risk areas that take a lot of flow from a lot of different houses and affect a lot of different people versus singular runs. So be aiming between that 15 and 20%. That I think should give us a good idea of what's going on in the sanitary. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be better than what we have, and it's going to not spend a ton of money for the district.
Okay, and for, let's say you do 20%, would we be looking at about 20% of the cost out of the CIP for televising those?
It would be relatively low as far as the CIP price. I don't, give me 1 second. Let me pull up the CIPP plan. I have it right here. Make sure I'm not misquoting a number.
I mean, it's I'm
yeah.
sure there's some economy of scale, but those guys generally charge a day rate, don't they?
Yeah, it's a day rate. So what we would try to be doing is maximizing how many days. So if we had them 10 days in the districts, and that's what I'm trying to get a hold of is what the price per day is. So you would probably be looking at about 20% of the cost. So you got a $327,000 budget for clean and televised. So you're looking at about a, I mean, it says 65,000, but I wouldn't take it up that high. I would be looking more in the $20,000 range to spend to see what we can get in that valuation. So it may take it down to 10%, but again, we're going to focus on main runs. If we can get 100 linear feet or 200 linear foot of a main run, at least we can get an idea of what's going on to better evaluate that, add a value to the district where we're not spending a ton of money.
Okay, that makes sense. I just wanted to get some kind of ballpark as to what the expense would be. Thanks.
Moving forward, the East-Ditch FEMA work, I sent out that report to all the districts. I got that from Richard last month. We're trying to figure out who to get in contact with. Richard can't remember, or I don't know if Richard knows specific names. He couldn't remember off the top of his head, so he's searching through his contacts, and I'm kind of feeling out through FEMA to try to figure out who to talk to about how we go about spending this money later in the game and what needs to be done to move forward with that stuff. And obviously, I'm sure everybody's heard rumors of prices going up. Concrete's pretty much through the roof. A lot of things are going up really fast right now because of the economy and the inability to have supplies versus demand. So if we can fix some of it, it's worth fixing some of it if FEMA's going to pay for it. It's kind of my view on that. So trying to get a hold of them and figure out, hopefully we have something for you guys in your June meeting for that. Construction project, that storm sewer sinkhole. This is awaiting the video. We received the video Tuesday. Took a look at it, put together a quick report. I don't know if that got into the packet. Davis, do you know if that got uploaded to the actual website?
Let me see here.
I know we asked it to be added.
Hey, Taylor, if it's not, do you happen to have
are you talking about the pictures of the storm sewer line?
Yes.
That's in the packet. It starts on page 15.
Perfect.
I know you sent that out by email, so let me say that it was not in the packet that went out last week, because I know you just got the information earlier this week, but I think you sent it out to the board members, BCC'd by email, and we included it in the packet starting on page 15.
Yes.
Okay. So all the board members should definitely have it. Any of the residential people may be able to go re-download the report. So just a quick overview. If you look at my headings, what the headings are meant to say is what manhole you were starting from and what manhole we were going to. So about halfway to 3/4 of the way through the report, you may see where it's an earlier number versus a later number. It just depended on if they were going downstream or upstream. I put some brief descriptions. Again, this was a quick look at it, pointing out some of the most severe things that I saw. You can see the deterioration, the heavy silt buildup throughout all the pictures. We're definitely speculating, but with pretty good assumption that probably the bottom of that pipe is pretty much gone. You can see about that, what we're calling the halfway point. It goes from kind of a bright, shiny metal surface to a really dark brown surface, and that's not dirt, that's rust. which means that most likely below it is pretty much gone. Originally, this pipe was coated with asphalt, so you can see the remainders of black, just to call your attention to it. So it's gone through the asphalt protective layer, and we're down to bare metal, and it stays wet, so it continues to rust. Heavily silt buildup. Certain areas you can see it being halfway full of silt, and then you'll come into a pond of water where it's just completely stopped up and blocked. This adds to the deterioration of the pipe constantly sitting full. There was an area from manhole 4 to 3 where there's a severe sag in the pipe. You're actually looking at the upstream end going downstream, and from the camera angle you can see that it's well below the actual flow line where it's going to go. So every time it has to pull up in that position before it can actually outfall out. One of the major issues is manhole 4 to 3. The pipe is completely collapsed at the joint. I'm surprised there's not a sinkhole there right now. With as bad as the collapse is, the pipe has pretty much gone down to 50% capacity at that level. You get towards the end, manhole 6 to 9, heavy silt buildup. That is actually where the sinkhole is manhole 6 to 9. So all that silt and sand is probably coming from one of the seams, has just started to eat away at the soil, and that's why it keeps appearing. And then manhole 7 to 8, you'll see a heavy deterioration. That's what we're assuming is the bottom of all the pipe. I think it's a safe assumption with as rusted as it seems, and anywhere that the dirt is below that kind of spring line we're calling out, which is about a third up the pipe, it seems like you're seeing a heavy deterioration in the pipe and rust. And so that's what we're seeing. Richard, I believe, has gotten some pricing from one of the people for CIPP for the 36-inch. He's solicited 2 other bids. I don't believe they reported back, but that's fine. I think the bid that he got is a fair price to do CIPP for that 36-inch. And in the meantime, to avoid a continued sinkhole and safety issue, I would recommend moving forward with at least doing that section of pipe to begin with. That next section hasn't failed. It is in the open. It is in an easement, so it's not directly in fear of somebody's backyard caving in, which makes me feel a little better about pushing it off a little bit, but we're going to have to watch it closely to make sure nothing happens before we'll have to do a point repair replacement, which will be a little more costly than just going in and cleaning in CIPP. I was notified of a sanitary sewer collapse tonight. Richard can speak a little more heavily on that, but we did have a full collapse of the truss pipe in the sanitary. This is going to be a costly repair to remove and replace. Richard had estimated, and I haven't seen the video yet, but Richard had estimated about 65 linear feet of pipe needing to be replaced. Originally, just for full disclosure, I talked to Julie. When she had first said, I thought it was just going to be a specific point repair for a section. Further discussion with Richard, it sounds like it's going to be a complete replacement of about 65 linear foot, and then would recommend coming back, since we've already got it open, and CIPPing it to stabilize that line. He's going to have the camera crew go back out tomorrow and run from the opposite end of the failure to make sure that more pipe has not failed. One thing we do run into when you do get a collapse is continued collapse. Obviously, once you get one, it's like when you used to stack dominoes. Once that first domino falls, there's a good potential that it's going to continue to go as you created that weak spot. So hopefully that's not the case. We'll be able to replace that certain linear feet. You're looking at about $150,000 to $180,000 for replacement, especially with the skyrocketing prices of PVC right now.
So what's the total footage that's involved, not just the damage today, but the potential repair work that we need to do it right?
I think it was about 500 linear foot. Correct me if I'm wrong, Richard. 500 linear foot would take out the entire street. The section of failure was about 65 linear feet, and the specific section where the failure was at from manhole to manhole was about 380 feet.
Where's it located at?
On Roanoke.
Okay.
Can't miss it.
It's the north section of Roanoke off of River Plantation Drive.
Okay.
If I can, it's gonna
North
be my
side, Richard.
recommendation.
Go ahead, Richard.
If I can, it's gonna be my recommendation to the board that we do an emergency repair on this. I've already talked to Taylor about contacting the TCEQ about that, because we need to move forward with that. Right now, I'm having to bypass that line so the customers have sewer service. So we can't continue to do that. We can do that, but we've got to get that line repaired ASAP.
And just so y'all know, any new board members, anybody that's not been through this process, when you run into an emergency repair over the amount of $75,000, it's required that we put together a letter to the TCEQ saying that due to risks to the residents and the public safety, that it requires us to do an emergency repair. That subsides all the bidding requirements that we would have to go through, and allows us to sole source a contractor to do those repairs. So that's the process we're looking at. We can do the repairs in the meantime. We don't need the approval from the TCEQ because we do see it as a health safety risk to the public, and therefore I have no problem recommending proceeding with, whenever Richard gets a full-blown price on it, proceeding with the item in lieu of any sort of approval from the TCEQ.
Well, and Taylor, I'm gonna make a point here too, is we've got to figure out how we're gonna come up with those funds. I know we have a little bit of cash in the bank, but if one happens, I'm sure there's gonna be another one down the road somewhere, and we've got to figure out how we're gonna pay for these. And that's kind of why I asked for, which I didn't know about the sanitary storm or the sanitary sewer until 4:45 today, but kind of why I knew there were going to be some things that were going to be coming up, why we're going to have a finance committee put together to figure out how we're going to pay for this.
Absolutely.
Can I ask what the estimated cost of the storm sewer repair is?
The one price that Richard got, I think, was in the ballpark of $30,000.
$30,000. So we have about. Oh, go ahead.
Davis, it's $36,450.
Okay, and we expect the sanitary repair to be in the neighborhood of 160,000.
Yes, it'd be a lot less if we didn't have to do the point repair, but that pipe is 10 foot deep and 65 feet long.
So you have about $200,000 to spend.
Yeah,
isn't it possible to go to the Texas Water Development Board for an emergency loan?
I've never had a client go get emergency funding from the Texas Water Development Board, but we can certainly investigate that.
Okay.
I'll tell you, their typical process adds some pretty significant time to funding receipt, because they have a whole different application and approval process. But that's something we can try and take a look at right away and let Taylor know if we think that there's some possibility that we could get funds. But I'm going to guess, how quickly do we need someone out to do these repairs? I mean, we'd need the money in what, a week?
Yeah, for the
the sanitary is definitely critical. I mean, weirdly enough, I would say the storm sewer is a lot less critical than the sanitary, and that's saying both of them are critical. You can get by filling in that hole right now and making it last another couple of months. That's not what I want to do, but financially, that's probably the better way to go. Richard, I'm sure you got some contacts with some guys for point repair and stuff like that. I know we can get a secondary bid pretty fast for a sanitary repair if need be. So if we want to get 2 bids just to make sure that we're getting a good price, especially with being financially strapped, I would recommend that.
Yes. I've already contacted the contracts that I used to did all the rest of the CIPP. He'll be here tomorrow morning to start measurements and everything. He's pretty quick. So I can get you a number pretty quick, and we can always get another one to balance off, but I agree.
Good. Anything else, Taylor?
Yes, the last thing I have on my list is the recreation bond application report to prepare a summary of costs to potentially come back to your next meeting and look at authorizing bond application preparation for that. That may be discussed in a executive session by the board since it's dealing with the acquisition of the property, and so I just wanted to put that out in my report, but it may be discussed later on.
Okay.
Can
All right,
I
thank
ask
you,
a question
Taylor.
about the bookkeeper's report? The way these assets are reflected, I mean, cash on hand, is that 700,000, Richard?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
$700,000, and we obviously wouldn't expect any tax revenue until, February of next year.
That is correct.
We can hear you if you had.
Yeah, so that 700,000 has to last us basically until almost a year, 9 months.
And you have an operating budget of, $1.2 million.
Correct.
Right. I mean, truthfully, I think that it is a significant enough financial issue that, I don't see how you don't have a functional sanitary sewer system.
I agree.
But Richard, I think we need to see some sort of analysis of what the remaining expenses are for the remainder of the year before deciding whether or not to do the storm sewer repair.
I can send you the budget, the entire budget for the whole year.
Not the budget, projected actual expenditures between today and the end of February.
And what we can cut potentially.
Got it. Okay.
Because if we're halfway through your fiscal year, right? So I'm getting pretty good echo. But let's say you have roughly $600,000 in budgeted expenses for the rest of the year. That means that you can't afford your sanitary repair, or, I mean, I guess you could do storm sewer alone, but I mean, that's the significance of the issue financially.
And that's if nothing else happens.
That is correct.
Right, and subject to the remaining normal expenses.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But you
Can
do
you
have
guys hear me
some
now?
additional funding coming in each month from the monthly bills, right?
That's
You
Yeah,
have your
like
water.
30.
Can I be heard?
You have your water and sewer revenue, yes.
I mean, so half a year, it's probably about 250,000 still coming in.
How much is that, Rich? Do we know per month on average?
It's around 40. It depends, between 48 in the winter and then roughly 50 something in the summer a month, which is water, sewer, and revenue.
50 for 5 months, about 250,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then too, I guess, I mean, I'm really speculating, but there could be possibly be some money coming back into the general operating fund after litigation is settled, possibly, right?
I don't think that it's realistic to think that that would happen, Gerard, before early 2022.
Agree. Yeah, it's got to go through the bond. Understand that. It'll take a little bit of time.
Yep. I'm not trying to freak anybody out. I just think that there's a hard look that should be taken over the next 6 months, because I think that's
right.
Yeah, I
And
think that's a
that
realistic
40
view.
that 40 to 50 that comes in every month has costs associated with it. It's
Correct.
not like it's 40 or 50 that comes in and goes in the bank. There's costs associated with that 40 and 50.
Right. We got overhead.
Right.
right.
correct.
That's that round, but round 600, 600 over 6 months. And then, yeah, I mean, that's, assuming those numbers, you end up with something like a, $150,000 cushion at the, in February.
Right.
Yep, true.
Right, with no further issues through hurricane
Right.
season,
Right.
etc. This is not ideal, obviously.
Right. Okay. All right. So that takes care of the engineer's report, agenda item 3. We'll move to. I'm sorry.
Let me say, I hate to do this, Tim, but if we have an emergency,
Correct.
sewer issue, Taylor, I mean, you're saying that that absolutely has to be done immediately.
Depending on the amount of cost of bypass per day, the sanitary sewer system does not work for, my understanding, is 10 residents. 10 of your residents do not have the ability to operate their sanitary sewer systems appropriately to flow to the sanitary plant without bypass pumping.
Richard, how much does bypass pumping cost per day?
Well, right now it's just me and Milton are doing it. We have all our own equipment, so we set it all up already, and we've already taken it down. We'll set it up again. We already own all the equipment, and everything. It's just labor to do it for us.
And Davis, I can tell you, I wouldn't want to be anyone that lives around those 10 houses, because when I pulled up, I could smell it before I got out of my car. And when it hits 100 degrees.
Well, I agree. The sanitary sewer has way more importance to me rather than the storm sewer.
I mean, the sanitary sewer has to be fixed. Now, is it 65 linear feet, or can we get away with fixing 20 linear feet? Once you're in the hole, it doesn't matter. Once you're in the hole, it doesn't matter. Whether you do 60, 20 feet, you're pretty much spending the exact same price. So, that being said,
Right. And we just got done saying we weren't going to Band-Aid it, and we got tired of if we're in there, we might as well.
Yeah, but I mean, you could probably get away with not CIPPing it right this very instant. Obviously, financially speaking, you would not recommend CIPPing it right now in this scenario, but you do have to fix the line so it flows. And see what it looks like. Yeah. And this is, obviously, again, the caveat, I haven't seen the video. We don't know what the video looks like from the other side. We could be dealing with a much worse issue. Right now, with the collapse we're talking about, the 65 linear feet and the approximately $100,000, you're talking best case scenario of what the information we know is right now. And that, again, to phrase Davis, I'm not trying to scare anybody or anything like that. I just want you guys to know exactly what you're up against.
I just want to make sure everybody's clear and ready to proceed, because it sounds like it's something that's going to happen in like 3 days. So, and it is a major financial decision at this point. So,
yes.
And Davis, correct me if I'm wrong, but do we need to have a special meeting to authorize once we get the bids, or do we just need to authorize Taylor and Richard to use their best judgment and get it fixed?
Typically what we would do in a situation like this, Julie, is just contact the board president and rely on the engineer. I mean,
Right.
The reason that the rules are written the way they are is because the situation warrants, not using the public bidding process, which is designed to get, obviously, ensure that you're getting competitive pricing. So sounds like Taylor and Richard are hopefully going to get 2 prices from 2 different contractors. And, I think it is the right thing to do to make the decision on that basis. But I just wanted to make sure everybody's clear here, because my assumption is that if they have 2 qualified contractors, y'all are going to pick the lower of the 2 and tell them to get to work. Is that?
That's if it's my judgment, yes.
That's correct.
Okay.
I would recommend at least 2 contractors. Richard's got a guy that's can get out there really fast. I'll call my guy first thing in the morning and get him out there really fast, and get bids back quickly. He does all our emergency repairs. He knows how to get me information back fast.
Okay. Sounds good.
Quick. This is Mark. I just got cut off and I missed the last maybe 2 minutes while I had to dial back in. Did anything happen in the last 2 minutes?
Just discussing the financial implications of the emergency sanitary sewer repair, and directing the engineer and Richard and to proceed with the work and just get Julie's blessing before getting started.
Okay, sounds good.
I have a question real quick, Davis. Has Tom been muted?
I have not muted Tom.
He texted me. I think he was having some feedback problems, and I think he said he muted himself, or he said something about his being muted.
You can unmute yourself if you have been muted or are muted.
If you are, I have not muted.
Okay.
Anyone.
Okay.
Let me see here. Yeah.
Tom, are you there?
I saw Tom unmuted a minute ago, and he attempted to talk, and then it like disappeared. And I don't see his video on at least on my screen anymore. I'm not sure he's even here.
Okay.
It might be a system, because when I got cut off, that's the second time in this meeting that it dropped me and I had to put the code back in.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it didn't disconnect me. I just had to put the code back in. I didn't have to dial the original number.
I don't think Tom's on.
Yeah, I was gonna say I tried texting him and I'm not getting a response at all.
Yeah, you might want to tell him we don't. Is that? Let me see. I don't see him.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there he is.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I was muted on the other one. I couldn't talk.
Well, glad you're back.
Yes.
I wish I wasn't.
Okay. All right. So agenda item 4 kind of flows right into what we were just talking about. It's the appointment of a construction financing committee. Julie, you want to take that one?
Yep. So this is something that I asked to be put on the agenda, because even though this just happened today, we knew there were going to be some issues that were going to be coming up. Okay. Whether it was storm sewer, whether it was sanitary sewer, whether it's water problem, whatever, we're going to have issues, and we don't have the money to pay for it. And so I'm going to recommend that we put together a committee of 2 board members, and they're going to be tasked with figuring out how we're going to pay for this stuff that's going to be coming up. Okay. And Gerard, you seem to have a handle on it. And along with that, I want to ask you a couple of questions, but I really would like to have you on that committee. And pardon me?
Oh, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
Okay. And I don't know, do I have anybody else that wants to be on the committee with Gerard? Figure out how to come up with this money to pay for this stuff?
This is, I would be totally unqualified to handle finances like that.
Well, thank you for being honest. So, okay. Okay. Tim?
I'd be more than happy to do it. We'd be starting from ground zero, obviously, but I'd be happy to throw in my 2 cents.
Okay. All right. Hey, Gerard, also, while we're talking about this, and I don't know where else to bring it up except here, so I'm going to ask you. Apparently, something was you posted something on Facebook or Nextdoor during the bond election. I only got a screenshot of it because that happened to be like one of the busiest days of my life that month. But I got a screenshot of it, and it was a map, and it had markers like you're talking about, like you were talking about with Taylor, where it had spots that were marked that I was told you stated that they were fixed or repaired. My question is, one, where did you get that map? Two, who told you that they had been repaired? And three, who paid for the repairs? And how were they repaired?
So I got the map from Richard. Richard said that they had been repaired. He also supplied a copy of the work orders, but they weren't very detailed. So Richard provided all that.
Okay, so Richard, can you tell us how those places were repaired that were marked on that map? And like I said, I only saw that little piece that I asked you about. That's all I saw. So, but
Yeah.
apparently there were some in our district that were on that map.
There was some repairs that were done, especially when they went between houses for 24-inch storm drains. They were CIPP'd. And so long as they're in our district alone, then the district paid for having those repairs done.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you for a list of those that were repaired and the dates they were repaired and the cost of those repairs.
Yeah, I should be able to pull those records.
Okay. Okay. All right. So with, I guess we're going to call it a construction finance committee of Gerard and Tim. All I can say is time is of the essence. I'd really like to have something for next month's meeting on how we're going to proceed with this.
Okay.
Okay.
I think at minimum, they're going to have to look at our utility rates that we're charging. Those are going to have to go up just to get it somehow.
Yeah. So, well, and it's going to have to be an immediate inflow of cash somehow.
Yeah, I'd also like to add that since we have all these other issues, I don't want to spend any extra money trying to put together another bond package right now. We need to put that off until we can get our hands around what we got.
I'm in total agreement with you, Tom. So if you guys on the finance committee, I would not use that as my plan. If you want to use it as a backup, that's fine, but I would not use that as my primary plan because you've already got two of us that are not going to vote for that.
So Julie, as far as putting the plan together, what resources will the committee be allowed to draw upon to get advice for different options? I mean, that's one of the first things that I see. And, you know, would we be able to use Davis? Would we be able to use advisors from the community who might be professional engineers that are living in the district?
I would recommend you use anybody you want to, with the exceptions of, and this is just my theory, I would not suggest you use anyone that we're in litigation with currently. I would recommend you not use anyone who has been on previous boards because apparently that's what got us here. Other than that, you can use anybody you want to use.
So I completely understand on the litigation, but on previous boards, I think that maybe we would like to consult with them sometime to understand
Well,
some
okay.
things.
So give me I'm going to ask you to give me a name because
So,
I'm going to tell you why. And
so
I don't want to make this personal, but I'm going to tell you why.
okay.
Go ahead.
So for instance, we were doing a walkthrough of the plantation ditch, and there was a pinch in the line, and I think that Taylor will remember this. And we kind of looked at it and we said, Richard was there, I was there. We're doing that walkthrough, and we're like, well, why do they have this point where it narrows in? And we all kind of shook our head and like it doesn't make sense. I mean, it didn't make sense to Taylor either. So we were thinking back, well, why was it done? That's where we would like to reach out to perhaps a previous board member or engineer who had worked on that and find out, well, why did they do that pinch point there? The narrowing of the ditch.
Well,
So
that has nothing to do with the financing.
Right.
I need you to
it's
concentrate
an
on the
example.
financing.
Example.
Doesn't
I
have
don't
anything to do
need
with
you
the
to fix
sewer
the
either.
I need you to figure out how to get the money, not how to fix the problems. That's Taylor's job and Richard's job, how to fix the problems. Your job is to figure out how to get the money to fix those problems that they have.
I was using that as an example of why we would reach out to somebody that had been on a previous board for their experience. And that experience could be related to finance as well. That was just the example that I had in mind.
To my knowledge, I don't know that there have been any improvements. I don't know if there are any board members on prior boards that have financed any improvements, at least not in the last, gosh, yeah. I'd have to go back and look at the date of the last bond sale, but it
was in the 80s.
I think it precedes the service of any at least any prior board members that I'm aware of.
Right. So,
but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have, Gerard.
So I guess another thing that comes to mind is I guess it's a previous board member who did offer up a plan. And, I just thought that there might be some useful information in that plan, some experience, from putting together that plan.
I can tell you, did you look at that plan, Gerard? Gerard, did you look at that plan?
Yeah, I looked at it.
Okay. Richard, are you an engineer?
No, ma'am.
Do you have the qualifications to do any systems drawings?
Not if you want to look at it from a licensed engineer point of view.
Do you have the qualifications to be approved by TCEQ for doing systems drawings? And by the county engineer?
Well, that depends. You can, as a district, you can, make up your own drawings and stuff, but realistically, you want to use the engineer to do that.
So Gerard,
as long as you don't change, as long as you don't change the design, it's okay. But still, I would rather have the engineer do it if it was a brand new project.
So Gerard, that's just one thing I'm going to point out on that plan that was flawed.
I'm not saying it was a perfect plan by any means, Julie. I'm just saying that I would like to keep that as an open option.
I'm just saying, look at who brought us to this dance today.
Well, I don't want to get in a big debate about that, really. And
I'm happy to answer.
So
go ahead.
So let me say something, Julie. Obviously I'm a point of contention on this. I'm certainly willing to help, but I want to have the flexibility to get things done and to look at them broadly and look at a number of options. If that's not going to be possible, then maybe one of the other board members want to serve on this committee. I want to have the flexibility to be able to talk to different people and get advice from different people, understand on litigation. But other than that, I don't agree.
Okay, Mark, what was your comment?
My comment is, it sounds like even though you said you don't want to make it personal, I think you're making it personal. And I agree with Gerard. I agree with Gerard that we need to find the money that we need. Then they need to look at any options they can. And whether you think that plan was flawed or not, and you are the president, but we're all the directors, I think we should open it up to everything and not put personality into it at all.
Okay. Gerard, you can
That's
use
all I have to
anybody
say.
other than the people we're in litigation with.
Okay, that sounds
By
great.
next month.
And well, I mean, I don't know what you said. Something is what you wanted by the next meeting.
Well, we got to move on it. We're draining our resources. We're banking we don't have a hurricane. We're banking we don't have another sewer collapse.
Right, Julie, but I'm not gonna commit to having a complete plan by the next meeting. I mean, I'm the one that was pointing out the fact that we did the assessment in too fast of a fashion, and I'm not full time on this. I've got a full time job to do as well. So, I don't want to rush this and get something that's inadequate just so that we meet a deadline by next meeting. Certainly, we would want to have something, but it's going to take some time to figure this out and look at options.
Okay, give me a deadline of when you think you can have it done, because we don't have time. Time is not our friend here. Time is not on our side.
Yeah,
Can I make one suggestion?
Yep.
I think we're really looking at at kind of an August deadline to make a decision on how to proceed with any possible bond, election authorization. And so I think that we're probably 60, 75 days away from needing to make that decision, if that's going to be a component of it. Just from a timing standpoint, I think that's kind of our outer our outer deadline, if that's a reasonable deadline to take into consideration.
I mean, certainly that would be the goal, Davis, is to meet the timelines for the next bond election.
Sure.
Let me ask you a question. Can we go ahead and move forward on Prop B to get that started? And what would be the options or possibilities of maybe getting with the other side and see if they'll release the escrow accounts, knowing that we have the bond to replace it? Is that possible, and move that money back into general fund?
Tom, I think we're in a difficult standpoint from a timing perspective, but I think that the litigation should be discussed in executive session and any sort of negotiations with them. But that's certainly a discussion that we can have.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm just asking, is there any possibility that could get $500,000 back into general fund?
Can I answer that? You mind if I say something real quick, David?
Sure.
So,
Go ahead.
Sorry. So, Tom, I think we have some answers and thoughts on all of this, and we have an executive session on the agenda tonight where I plan to talk about those issues. So, all we're saying, I think we can talk about that and resolve some of that tonight, but we need to do it in the protection of an executive session that covers the litigation and real estate purchases, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I'm just looking for options.
Yeah, so we will
Yes,
discuss those, 30 minutes from now tonight at something like that.
Okay. So are we done talking about the finance committee? Gerard, are you happy at this point?
Yep, I think we're good to proceed.
Okay, good. All right, let's move on to agenda item 5, a review of the financial and bookkeeper reports. Any questions or concerns? I noticed that I had a question regarding the checking account for May. The check that we wrote for legal fees, was that for 1 month, or was that for carryover from perhaps April and March?
Yes, sir, Tim. There were, I think, at least one. I want to say two. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay.
That were in arrears, and so the totals you see there are for several months of work.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That's the only question I had about any of the financials.
So I guess I've got one question, and just looking at the different budgets and how we're doing for the year, for what's planned and what's actually been spent, and legal fees do come up. I'm sorry, Davis and Paul, to have to discuss this in front of you, but I do think that we probably need to talk about it. And I want to see if there's, kind of where we're going. Right now, our what I'll call our burn rate, our spend per month, is just over 16,000 if you average it out over the 7 months. I think there's been around a little over, well, almost 114,000 spent for this this accounting year to date, and we had 120,000 budgeted. So at the burn rate, we're projected to spend 195,000. That's about 75,000 over budget. And if you look at the legal expenses compared to our total budget of 1.164, that's about almost 17% of the budget, and 10% was budgeted. So I'm wondering if our president, if the board, if anybody's looking at any ways to reduce that expenditure for the rest of this budget year, or to Richard, anybody who can comment on that.
I don't have any real comment. I know that they've been doing a lot of work. They did a lot of work for the bond. They've been doing a lot of behind the scenes Charleston work. I don't know, I don't know what else is contributing to the expense.
Yeah, and well, so as a follow-on question, are we starting to get a breakout of what's spent toward the bond, what's spent towards administration, what's spent toward litigation?
Yes, those bills are broken out separately. We have a general legal and 002 matter, and a separate matter for the Charleston litigation.
Does that impact the cost of doing business, Davis? The breakout, is it extra work? Is it costing us more?
No, we have always we always do it on an entry by entry basis, and so those expenses have always been always been broken out
okay.
Separately. So that's not a problem at all. If we got into a kind of an item by item issue, it just is, it can be difficult, because sometimes, I'll get a call from Richard and we'll talk about, the storm sewer failure and a compliance issue and something else, or I'll talk to, a board member or something like that. And it's hard to say, well, this was about 7 minutes and that was about 3 minutes and this was 2 minutes. So that can be tough, but we do our best to kind of describe the work that was completed and do it on an entry by entry basis. So,
thank you.
So Davis, I guess I don't completely understand entry by entry. I guess maybe it would help if we at least had a breakdown of your time versus Paul's time, which would be litigation. And then I think there's probably some administration time as well for doing things like the minutes. Do we have that? I'm sorry, I haven't seen the bills, and it's not clear to me in the bookkeeper's report how that's being broken down.
Sure. So all of my time is going on an 002 matter number, a general legal matter number, and Paul's is on litigation. I can go back and look, but I think that they are completely completely separated. So two totally separate bills.
So can we get that?
His would be
So Richard, can we get that broken down in the bookkeeper's report, the budget comparisons, actual versus budget?
What are we going to do with all that?
Well, so there's a couple of things that I can see. Number one, if we have the breakdown, there's a possibility of the litigation fees being able to be funded by the bond and moved back into general operating fund. So that's number one. And I guess the second part of that answer really is in the form of a question. I don't know. I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm typically pretty brash, but do we need litigation represented at each of our meetings? Or could we cut the cost by just having Davis attend and Paul only attend whenever litigation is going to be an issue?
If I can say, the current reality is I think you've had an executive session at least at every meeting that I've been at where you discuss litigation. If there was an agreement, let's say that you are not going to discuss litigation at all in June, like the questions about, well, what if we negotiated this or that kind of stuff, then I think that that's something that we could do. But Paul is having those conversations, and I just don't want to. I hate to do an hour of prep with Paul on everything that's happened before the meeting, so then Paul doesn't have to spend an hour in the meeting. If that makes sense, I think that's probably less efficient. We try and be reasonably efficient with our time, which is why he handles the litigation and I the general legal, if that makes sense. But we could do that as a special meeting. We could try and break it out separately. I mean, however y'all think makes sense. So
yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not trying to get personal with this. I'm trying to be responsible as a director, and I look at our spend, and so I am looking maybe if we could reduce it where we can, that would be great. I'm also wondering is and maybe this is a better discussion in executive or after executive, after we have some direction as to what we're going to do on Prop B, maybe the litigation costs would be going down for the rest of the year. I don't know, maybe going up, maybe require more. I'd like to get some input from you guys on that.
Sure, of course. And I will tell you, just so you know, Gerard, it is absolutely Paul and I are concerned about the financial condition of the district, and it's absolutely a conversation we've had for planning purposes as well to try and reduce that burn rate. So.
Okay. Fair enough. Thanks, guys. Tom, did that answer your question too, or?
Some, but I think we're spending a lot of time here. We need to be moving on.
Okay, so no questions on the bookkeeper's report. Tax assessor collector's report.
Do you need a motion to approve the bookkeeper's report and pay the bills?
Good point, Davis. So we need a motion to pay the bills.
That's item H.
Good point, Mark. Okay, so let's look at the bookkeeper's report. Any questions on the bookkeeper's report? I'm sorry, on the tax assessor report.
I have none.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the tax assessor report?
So moved.
Seconded?
Second. Mark,
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Tim, aye. Okay. Richard, you got a review of investments. How are we doing there?
Did you guys approve the district payment on the bill?
Not yet.
So I'm sorry, Tim, what was your question?
Our investments?
Our investments are doing fine. We've transferred as much over to Texas class as possible. It's really the best place to put it right now with the financial issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
But other than that, it's just, you're lucky you get anything, but the investments are doing fine.
Okay. All right, so item H, payment of district bills. Do I have a motion to pay the district bills? Anybody?
This is Gerard. I'll make the motion to pay the district bills.
Thank you, Gerard. Do I get a second?
Tim, this is Mark. Can you repeat the last minute? I just got kicked off again.
The last minute, we're just talking about a motion to approve payment of the district bills.
I second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Tim, aye. Sounds like it's unanimous. All right. Review administrative reports. Richard, I know you sent out the systems total reports this afternoon. So it's your turn.
Okay. The systems totals report is pretty good. There's nothing out of the ordinary with it. The system is doing fine. For Julie, there's 4 people that went over 50,000 finally. Everyone else is pretty much in their normal routines for this time of the year.
In a wet month.
Yes, isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Production has been down, so we're at only 8 million. So once it gets hot, it'll start going up, believe me. But there's nothing out of ordinary. We have 1.88% water loss, which is still good. I'm trying to keep it there.
I like that.
Just remember that I'm trying to keep it there in the middle of summer when it goes up, because it will. Manager's report is everything's normal on the plants. They're all functioning fine. I'm going to try to reformat this. Davis gave me some clues on how to reformat this. At the end of this one, you'll see an operations report. I'm going to try and put that as the main topic next time and then give you the statistics afterwards on the next one and reformat it. Just it's giving you a, oh, I'm sorry. You know what, Tim? I forgot to put the work tickets in there for you.
Okay.
I just realized that. Gosh. Anyway, I was going to say the work tickets that you have, which I didn't give you, my apologies, shows what is going through the customer's hands and how we're responding to them and the things. This operations report is everything that is not customer related, the plants, the lines, things like that, maintenance items and stuff that I don't normally go through RVS. So I'm going to try and detail a little bit more about what we're doing. For instance, we replaced the batteries in water plant number 2 and 3 emergency generators. I did that for 2 reasons. Number one, the batteries were 3 years old, so it's due to be replaced anyway, but I was more concerned about them being damaged by the freeze. And you have to have good batteries to start those generators, and I want them to start. So I went ahead and replaced them. The air release messed up on well number 3. I got a report that some water was going down the street. They thought it was coming from the tank, the neighbors, but it was only the air release valve. So we repaired that, and I've ordered a new valve. Once it gets here, I'll replace that. And again, replacing the dry belts on RBC 1 and 2, they're just the belts that go from the gear reduction to turn the actual drums. It's just a normal maintenance. We replace them once a year just to make sure everything stays running good. And we repaired a 24-inch storm drain pipe joint at 713. It was between 713 and 715, Nicholas. That was a concrete pipe, and the joint just deteriorated. And it created a sinkhole. And the lady called us So we dug it out and repaired the seam and sealed it off, and then mortared around it and then sealed the joint. So it's all good. The rest of the pipeline we checked from the rear of the plant, of the rear of her house to the front, is all in great shape. So we just left it alone.
Okay.
And of course, I was obtaining the bids, which I've gotten for the 190 foot of the CRP for the 36 inch, which I'm assuming we're going to put that on hold right now till we get the other one fixed. So, but I'll try and do a little bit more detail on that, things that are happening outside the customer's range, so that you'll get a better idea of how the district is operating and the plants are running and the maintenance involved with them.
I suggested that Richard make y'all aware of any sort of loss of service events, major plant failures, violations, you know, kind of the highlights, the operations highlights of the prior month. So
Good. Richard, I had a note that I was going to make sure I asked for you of you tonight, and that is, this is our last meeting before official hurricane season, and I wanted to make sure that the generators were ready to go. You mentioned that you just replaced the batteries, which is great. Are the generators ready to go? Are we prepared for a hurricane as far as our physical plants?
Yes, the plants are okay. The generators are, they're running fine. There's no issues with them. Next month, I'll change all the air filters and the oil, and the fuel filters and everything in them, just as a maintenance item to prep them for the season. But they're running great. There's no issues with them. So I'm pretty sure we're prepared. Everything's locked down already and prepared for the hurricane season. So long as we don't get flooded, we're okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that takes care of item 6. Next item would be executive session. Do we need to have an executive session tonight?
I believe so, Tim.
I believe so too.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to temporarily adjourn and go to executive session. Okay.
I'll see you there.
Very good.
Before we go, I don't have, where's this executive session? I have no contact number.
I don't think.
I believe an email was sent out. It's up on mine. Stephanie should have sent it out on Tuesday.
Oh, wait a minute. I just said
Davis,
something.
if you'll, yeah, I'll check.
My error. I just found it. It just.
You got it?
Yeah, I've got it. I've got a
okay.
what do you call it? Meeting number.
Yep.
All right, so we're leaving here. Right?
Yeah, forward that to please, Davis. I didn't get it.
This is Mark. I don't have nothing about how to go to executive session.
Yeah, I don't either, Mark. I'll get it from Davis. I'll make sure he gets it to us. Just give us a couple minutes.
Was that a no for us, Paul?
I don't think you need to be in there.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.
Do you need to address anything after you guys come out?
I don't think so. We can call you with any work orders.
Okay. Just give me a call if we need to jump back in for a minute. I can do it on my phone.
Okay, thank you.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Okay, how am I to get into executive session?
Mark, did you get the email?
I have not gotten one yet.
Okay, it's the same phone number.
I'm sorry.
It's the same phone number as the other one. I will text you the code to get in.
Okay, do that. I'm off.
I can't believe it. Y'all were 3 people beat me. I thought I was going to. It took me like 2 seconds. And there were already 3 people there.
I think Tim already had
your
the window
internet's not
open.
fast enough.
Yeah, y'all cheaters. Yeah, exactly.
Bugs getting you out there, Paul?
Can you tell that? I keep going off video to swat a mosquito. It was a good idea when it was like 6:30.
Yeah.
It's not a good idea now, but my wife is in there doing her yell at the kids to go to bed for an hour routine, and so now I can't work from home right inside right now.
I hear you.
Mark's up.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah, I'll while we're waiting, I'll tell you when we redid our house and I created an office, but at the time I thought it would be cool if it was like partially open so I could participate in the family stuff. I didn't realize we were going to go into a pandemic and we would be like working at home doing a real job while I was here. So the office does me no good in these situations because it's only got 2 walls, so you still hear all the nonsense going on in the in the background.
Are we still? Oh, there's Tom. Okay.
Everybody back?
Looks like it.
Tom, you here?
I'm here.
Okay. Paul's here. Davis is here. Gerard's here. Julie's here. Dee's still here.
Mark's here.
Mark's here. Sounds like we've got a full house. All right. Item number 8, pending business. Do we have any pending business? Anybody have anything? Going once. Twice. Sold. No pending business. Okay. That pretty much wraps up the meeting. Now all we got to do is decide on the next time and place. And I think it's going to be the 24th. Would that be right?
Yep.
June 24th.
That's what I have on my calendar.
Yep.
Okay, June 24th, 6:30 teleconference.
Yep.
Yep, we'll be ready.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I guess we won't stay here, but I'll make that motion.
Anybody second?
Mark seconds it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good meeting, folks. We'll see you in June.
Have a great night.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.